What's going on with the Padres down in San Diego? What's working? What's not? What can we see them doing in the trade deadline? Are they going to be buyers? Are they going to be sellers? Find out in this next edition of Sideline Sports Podcast. Welcome to Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. And welcome back to another episode of Sideline Sports Podcast. I am the host, Alex Naveja, where if you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast via Sideline Sports Media. If you guys are liking the episodes we're putting up here, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help out the channel. Hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell so you guys know when we're uploading episodes. And of course, comment down below on what kind of episodes you guys want to see. We've got a lot of ideas coming up in the next couple of weeks. So a lot of things in the makings. And with it being summer underway, NBA just ended this week. So now it's just full stretch baseball, soccer. We're going to be on top of it all here in this one. Follow us on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. We're on all the social media platforms. We've got always going to be sending you guys coverage through our social media platforms. But nonetheless, on my left-hand side, another new face to Sideline Sports Podcast. He is with Talking Friars. You guys can subscribe to his YouTube channel, talking all about Friars baseball. He goes by the name of Ben Fadden. What's going on, Ben? It is a pleasure to have you on today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely a pleasure to have you on. Can't wait to get started here with the Padres, but I mean, let's go straight into it. What's going on with the Padres, man? I mean, with more than a quarter of the season that has already been under the books or in the books, what have been your thoughts with the Padres?
Yeah, so far this year, it's definitely been underwhelming. This team right now, before the Guardian series, they sit under 500, 3 games under 500, and that is not what Padre fans expected going into the season. If I were to say in spring training, yeah, on June 13th, the Padres are going to be in this spot, I would have thought you were joking. Like the star talent that is on this team, Fernando Tatis Jr. I know he missed the first 20 games, but him, Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Jake Cronenworth signed the big extension at the beginning of the year. And that's just the part of the lineup. And then the pitching, it's been better, but still, this is just not the team that we expected. Now, the good news is it is June, and the season is not close to being over, so they do have room to turn it around. They do have that time, on their side, and it's not like they're way out of wild card position. But going into the year, wild card was not what Padres fans were thinking. We were trying to go win the division, and that feels like that's not going to happen this year. And the focus should probably be on just make the postseason. And so we'll see if they can do it. I still think that they can, but yeah, it's definitely been a wild ride. It's been disappointing for the most part. There's been nights where they've scored 9 or 10 runs, and then the next night they score 1 run. We've seen that a lot. There was like a 9-10 game stretch where it was literally up one night, and then the next night they didn't do anything on offense. Up, down, up, down. They've been terrible with runners in scoring position, and it's mind-boggling because of the talent that's on this offense, at least the names going into the year. No one would have expected to have this happen.
I don't think anybody expected it, really. And I mean, I don't think a lot of people expected even the Diamondbacks to be in this mix as well. You and I were talking about it before we even started recording, but the Diamondbacks are in the top of the NL West, and they've got a little bit of breathing room with the second place team, the Dodgers. And then right below the Dodgers is the Giants, who are 7 games back. So this whole entire division is pretty mind-boggling. And another fact that we were talking about is this is the second winningest division in all of baseball. What's the first one? The AL East. So this is surely a division that is really on the incline and definitely a tough division to contest in, with a division that's chock full of very talented pitching. I mean, you see the Diamondbacks with what they're doing and just a nice balanced team. The Dodgers, despite having some starting pitching woes and bullpen woes, they still have some big names in there. Giants, that's always a team that they don't have to have the biggest name players on their pitching staff, and they still get the job done pitching. And I mean, look at the Padres. The Padres are chock full of pitching talent with Musgrove, with Darvish. Snell, I think he's up on the shelf right now. He's not active,
No,
but
he's good. He's good, but
oh, he's
he,
good to
he's
go.
he's actually been pitching really good. His last start against Colorado, Padres should have won that game for him. He was fantastic. But the bullpen ended up blowing it at the end, and they went, I think, 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. And the day before they went 1 for 12. So it's really been the offense, in my opinion, so far this year.
And I think the Padres have always had a really good bullpen. I mean, look at the run they had last year in the postseason, eliminating the Dodgers, going the distance with the Philadelphia Phillies last year, and they've always had a good pitching staff. And I think this time around, maybe it is the sticks, which is surprisingly enough. You said it yourself. Look at the names on this lineup. How does it not produce runs? It's just mind-boggling. You've got the leader Machado who's in there, and he can't seem to continue to score runs. You signed a big contract for Xander Bogaerts. He is the starting shortstop for the Padres, and you shift over Fernando Tatis Jr. out in the outfield, and I like Jay Cronenworth too. I like him a lot. He is a very good contact hitter. He is a very good glove to have in there. I feel like he's always in there with some great defensive highlights.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's been very I don't want to say surprisingly good at first because I thought he was going to be good, but early in spring training there were some clips out there of him struggling, and but the defense has been really good. It's been solid, and wherever they place him on the diamond, it's pretty much always been solid. So you can rely on that. With the bat, he has struggled this year. He has not been the Jake Cronenworth that Padre fans are used to seeing. And the good news is hopefully he's starting to turn it around in this Colorado series. You saw him kind of choke up on the bat and change his approach to going back to the Jake that we have known as Padre fans these past couple years going into this year, having that shorter swing. Because when he has been struggling this year, it felt like he's striking out more than usual, more than we're used to. And the swing it feels like it's just gotten long. And so just shorter, more compact swing. He's going the other way. So hopefully he's starting to turn it around.
Absolutely. They're going to need all hands on deck, especially a longtime Padre like Jay Cronenworth. He's certainly done his time. He has a lot of experience already within the major leagues. He has become a big name, a big part of San Diego baseball. So they really are going to have to need him and rely on him. But with the trade deadline around the corner already next month, what do you think the Padres need to address here? I mean, they look like, you look at the team on paper and it looks like, hey, you guys are set. Like, just figure it out with the bats. But we all know it's the Padres. We know that they're the team within the last couple of years that they are known for making moves on the offseason and during the season. So, what do you think they need to do?
I would point to the catching position and the DH spot because this catching position, it's no doubt it's been great that Gary Sanchez has come in as this waiver claim from the Mets, and he's just totally outperformed any of our expectations. He already has like 5 home runs, way more than Austin Nola would ever produce for this Padres offense in a season. So that's been great. And it seems like, Blake Snell, he's very comfortable with Gary. But how long is that going to last? And even if it does last, well, do you want Austin Nola to be your backup option when he's hitting below 200? You can't expect anything out of him offensively. He can't throw anyone out at second base. And Luis Camposano, I guess he's that option, but who knows how long he's going to be out for. So if Gary can't be Gary like this for a significant period of time, then the catching position is just going to go right back to where it was, which was a hole in this team. And in the DH spot, I think Matt Carpenter, Nelson Cruz, Nelson Cruz, it's only $1 million contract, so they could just release him, but he has not done as well, I don't think, as Padre fans were hoping. And Matt Carpenter as well has not done. I know at one point this year, I think he was either first or second in the team in runs driven in, but that was because of how bad the offense has been. So it wasn't like, oh, Carpenter's having this amazing year. His batting average, I think, is under 200. So the DH spot, it's struggling. The catching position, who knows there if Gary's going to continue this. Those are the two main spots. Maybe more outfield help. Who knows what they do with the center field position? Maybe they bring in a corner outfielder. They have Tatis move over to center field. But pitching wise, I mean, sure, you'd like maybe add another starter, but that's not like their biggest need. The rotation's been pretty solid, I think.
So you really would say add another catcher to help out Gary Sanchez to give him, when he's on the bench getting a day off, maybe you have a real good secondary catcher that could take his place on a day off, or even another outfielder or a designated hitter, really, just to kind of add like another stick to be able to provide some more pop in that lineup, stay a little more consistent, you would say.
Yeah, and maybe they don't go get another catcher, and I don't think that's the end of the world, but have someone that can be a DH and play corner outfield. I think that would help because right now it's Tatis, it's Grisham, it's Soto. That's in the outfield. And the bench outfielders, it's Brandon Dixon, maybe, Alfonso Rivas, if he can play outfield. Jose Zocar's in the minor leagues. So it's just not that strong. So I'd like them to improve the depth there.
Do you have any names in mind? Have you thought of maybe anybody? I know they haven't really tossed a whole lot of names out in the trade deadline right now, but have you thought of anybody that'd be maybe a good suit for the Padres?
Yeah, there's a name that I feel like keeps getting thrown out there in Max Kepler with the Twins, which I'd be okay with. I mean, I don't think that's like a, oh my gosh, we got Max Kepler type of addition. Um, the trade deadline, I think the names will start to come out as we get closer because it is June 13th. And so the deadline is still a good time away. But yeah, I think someone that has that power in a corner outfield spot, and they can move Fernando to center field. He said in spring training that that's where he wants to play the most, like, or that's where he likes the most, at least in the outfield. He expressed a desire to play there. So maybe that happens because Trent Grisham, unfortunately, it's kind of what it was last year. Maybe not as many strikeouts. I haven't totally dug into that, but the average still isn't great. He's given the defense, but it's still not really anything offensively. So that's been disappointing.
Almost looking like deja vu all over again. I know Trent Grisham had a tough year last year, just couldn't seem to get things figured out last year, but this year seems to look like it's the same story. So, I mean, really to sum things up, let's just look for some additional pop for the Padres. I mean, and the Padres, they always like to add more things than they maybe don't need so much. Maybe you'll add another pitcher, something in the pen, maybe something in the rotation. I mean, that's usually how they do it every year. They just add more guys than they really need. And as far as the farm system, they have such a good farm system that they are able to give up some of their top prospects for some top-notch talent. I mean, look at
Yeah,
what they gave up for Juan Soto last year.
the thing about that is with all the things that they gave up for Soto, what they gave up in like a Blake Snell deal, just the deals in the past, the farm system is not as strong. And you, at some point, with how large the payroll is, you got to bring people up in the farm system, and they have to have an impact on this team and be making 700,000 a year at the beginning of those contracts if you want to have sustainable success. Because the Padres, they're not going to keep a huge payroll like they have right now. That's not going to be the payroll for the next decade. They're going to have it for this window of time, maybe 2-3 years, and they're going to have these core guys. So the payroll, it's not going to be 50 million, but it's not going to be, what is it now, 250 or something over that. It's not going to be that for a substantial, like a long period of time. So they need the Jackson Merrills of the world to come up and not be traded, come up and provide an impact because that's the only way for them to remain sustainable.
And that's really the key to having a very successful major league club nowadays. It's not just about signing the big guys, trading for the big guys nowadays. It's about having a balance of those big name guys and having those big farm system guys. And that's why, if you ask me, I think that's why the Rays are the best team in baseball. If you look
Mhm.
at throughout their whole entire roster, that's all homegrown talent. That's all farm system talent, which is why you don't see the Rays signing or trading for these big name guys and in pursuits for a lot of guys. They're more of the guys that will, hey, we're gonna trade for this guy. Wait, you want this guy? Like, you don't want you don't want a Manny Machado or you don't want a Xander Bogaerts? Like, no, we want this guy. Which is kind of like you start to scratch your head and you think, wait, the Rays are onto something. They're a team that can definitely resurrect some careers and could definitely make a difference, which is why they have the best farm system in the game, which is why their player development it's so great. By the time they get to the majors, these guys are already ready and they're already ready to win ball games with the Rays. So I'm a firm believer in having that mix of do not have the luxury tax so high, but at the same time, have guys, the younger guys, mix. You got to have a good mix of veteran and of young guys for sure.
Yeah, and the Rays, like what they do is it's not just pitching wise. Like the Padres, they have been able to get some things out of pitchers at the big league level that was more than what they had before. But we haven't really seen that in the lineup and offensively. And that's been a little bit of an issue. And so you see the Rays, like they do it on offense too. Like you see these names like Harold Ramirez and Yandy Diaz, and like the casual baseball fan probably has not heard of those guys or did not hear of those guys, did not know who they were a year ago, but they probably know who they are now. And so the Rays, like the Padres, got to take a little bit from that. And I know other teams, every team in baseball is trying to take a little bit of something from the Rays. And I think offensively, development wise, that just hasn't really happened for the Padres.
So down the line, do you see the Padres going on an incline? Because I mean, there's a lot of baseball left, and truth be told, the baseball that only matters is the baseball that's played in August and September, because that's what's going to tell you, hey, you're going to be a playoff team, or are you sitting the bench for the month of October?
I always, I'm always going to say this until they're out of it. Because of the talent that's there, like we talked about it earlier, there's so much talent on this team. This team should be a postseason team. And if they don't make the postseason this year, like that is such a failure. And so maybe that's just me believing in this team is just like because I don't want to face them not making it and having to go through what the heck that would mean for this franchise. But yeah, I just believe in this talent. There's been some positive signs. Obviously, the pitching staff, I think it's been good. They have a solid rotation. Michael Walker's been a pleasant surprise, I think, and hopefully he can stay healthy. Hopefully they get Robert Suarez back at some point. But even without him, like the bullpen's been pretty good, and it's just the offense. It's just hard for me to believe that Manny, Bogarts, Tatis, Soto, Cronenworth, they're not going to be able to click this year. Like consistently, they're not going to be able to do that. Like look at their track records. And this isn't like Eric Hosmer track record like 5 years ago. Look at it. No, look at it like last year or 2 years ago. Like it's been there. So I just believe that it's going to happen. And you talk about August, September, and we're looking at the calendar right now. It's June 13th. I'm like, man, that's a long ways away. But it doesn't feel like it. When Padre fans were talking about this every day, oh, this offense, oh my gosh. It feels like, oh, they're in danger of missing the postseason, but we're in June. There's a long time to go. And so I guess I'm just holding on to that.
Yeah, it's tough when you have such a good team on paper and you got so many big name guys in the lineup. It's just mind boggling as to like, hey, like what is missing? Something's got to be tweaked here or there in the lineup, or are we not putting the right lineup together? Maybe we have to shift guys higher or lower or something more in the middle, or just got to really got to figure something out. I think I would say, but I think there's plenty of time left here for the Padres to make some adjustments. I'm not counting them out of the playoff run. I'm not even counting them out of a division title run either, just because, again, the team that they have the capabilities of doing so, and they certainly do clutch up. We've seen it in the postseason, and we've seen it during the season as well. So I'm not counting them out. Keep an eye out on the NL West, folks. It is going to be a lot of fun to be covering in the next couple of months. We'll be covering that for the Dodgers and the Padres. Where will they finish up here in the division? Will it be all Arizona Diamondbacks this season, and they will stop the little streak and stop the fight between the Dodgers and the Padres and just be that team? Be like, hey guys, while you guys are fighting, we're going to go ahead and just take the division ourselves. But that's all the time we have left here on Sideline Sports Podcast. We thank you all so much for tuning into this one. If you guys liked the episode, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what your guys' thoughts have been on the Padres season this year, and what do you think the Padres need to address in the trade deadline, or what maybe they need to do. And of course, hit the notification bell so you guys can stay up to date when we put up content. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. I'll also put that down in the description below. But that was Ben Fadden that was with us here today with Talking Friars on YouTube. Ben, thank you so much for tuning in with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Alex.
The best of luck to you in all of your future endeavors. You can also follow him on Twitter. I'll put that in the social media, description box down below. Thank you so much for tuning into this one, guys. I am Alex Naveja from Sideline Sports Podcast via Sideline Sports Media, saying hasta luego, everybody.